Welcome back. You're tuned into Good Morning Talk with me, Miriam Mia. And yes, over the holidays when I had a lovely, glorious 2 week break, I was checking through news feeds and I came across a fascinating article and also insight into cloth nappies. Because as we know, with our conventional nappies that we have, there's a huge environmental impact in terms of the time it takes for a nappy to disintegrate, because remember, outlining, most of them contain materials that are not very environmentally friendly. So I'm hoping my next guest will actually tell us how long it takes for a standard normal nappy to disintegrate in terms of this. And I was thinking, what, the environmental impact with disposable nappies, what it is. And then I was so pleased that my next guest, Catherine Dowie, she is the founder of the South African Cloth Nappy Users Association, and it says a warm welcome to the wonderful world of cloth nappies, your friendly cloth nappy experts. The Facebook community was started in 2013 and grew so rapidly that they soon realized there was a big need for good, solid information on the web to help one start their journey. Hence, the website started. The mission of the South African Cloth Nappy Users Association is to foster a love for cloth nappies and share information, provide services, easy, comprehensive, and simple links there. You can not only use cloth nappies successfully, but I think the payoff line is love it too. So they're passionate about providing sound and scientific information. The information has been written by experienced cloth users so that you can be sure that all and any data on this website has been thoroughly researched and tested. So let's welcome Catherine Dowie to Salam Media, and let's learn about this wonderful world of cloth nappies and how can we then move to be more environmentally friendly and find a sustainable way of using nappies for our little ones. Good afternoon, Catherine, and welcome to Salam Media.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. It was a great surprise when I heard from you. We love sharing what we do, so it's a great privilege to be here.
Okay, so I'm now in the granny stage, so all mine are grown up. My 2 kids have children, and I'm expecting my third one is due anytime. So I'm very au fait in terms of disposable nappies as well as the cost thereof, but also as an environmental warrior, somebody is very, very conscious of the environment. It always gets me thinking in terms of how we dispose of it, as well as, because most nappies are now, you're first going to put it in a plastic packet and then you dispose of it. And I'm just thinking about the negative environmental impact. And then hearing my mom telling me, in our days, things were not like this. It was so we had our steri nabby pockets and what we used to do. But having read your website and things, I know because of technology, we've evolved a long time from me and you using cloth nappies and what our parents used to do, in terms of it's a lot more easier now, not as difficult to use and wash for reusing that. So please tell us what got you onto cloth nappies as opposed to taking the easy way out with for disposable nappies.
Sure. So when I was pregnant with my first, that was about 8 years ago, I was looking at the kind of what's out there. And I actually, at the time, I was living in Malaysia. And there was a Facebook group there that was very pro cloth nappies. And it was this active Facebook group. And there was a lot of support for people who were using cloth nappies, and it really gripped me, and it seemed like such a wonderful community of support. And as you say, one, the money savings is certainly what appealed to me. Two, the environmental impact of throwing thousands and thousands of nappies out, disposable nappies into the landfills. And then, the more research I started to do, the more I began to see that not only are they great for the environment and great for my pocket, but they're actually good for my baby because they didn't have the chemicals that some of the disposable nappies might have. And then finally, they're just really cute. They come with little fun patterns with little hedgehogs or whales or whatever's kind of fashionable at the time. And so then they almost function a little bit like pants. And so, having had this amazingly supportive community overseas, I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had this community here in South Africa? So I started this Facebook group. I invited my mom and a very good friend at the time who wasn't even pregnant, and then reached out to a couple of bloggers who were in South Africa and were using cloth nappies. And then the community is really just grown by word of mouth. The Facebook page, I think, currently has around almost 19,000 members. And what that's telling us is that even if they're not all actively using cloth nappies, what it tells us is that people are interested in alternatives to disposable nappies.
Okay, so if I need to make the transition from disposable to cloth nappies and that, where do I start? How do I start? So as you've said, your Facebook page, your website is a wealth of information regarding this, but just can you tell the listeners what should be we be looking at, and then the initial start of capital investment? I know long term, I've been seeing on your website it gets cheaper, but you have to take an outlay of capital in terms of your first purchase of these nappies. So where do you start? And in terms of washing the nappies, I think that is what discourages everybody. Is afterwards it's cleaning those nappies for reuse and making sure that you have them ready. So just tell us a little more of that, and also in terms of washing them and keeping them clean, ready for the next use.
Okay, so with regards to starting, one of the pieces of advice that we always give is to just start. Buy yourself 2 or 3. The advice that we always give is to try and buy a bit of a variety. So don't necessarily buy from one brand only or one type, because there are various types. So it is a matter of sometimes just jumping in, getting your first couple of cloth nappies so that you can figure out how they work, how they snap, and how they work best with the absorbency. But kind of over the long term, most people, they collect over time. And so if you start when you're pregnant, you could buy a couple every few months, so that by the time your baby is born at 9 months, you've kind of got maybe 18 to 20 to start with. But if you're going to transition from disposable nappies into cloth nappies, then you can do that slowly and sort of build up your stash. We call it a stash of cloth nappies. It has its own collective noun. And some other ways, there are some companies out there that offer a rental service. And so you can rent nappies for 2 weeks, and that gives you the nice opportunity to try them out. But if you don't want to rent, we also have this program on our Facebook group, which is a mentorship program. So you can connect with somebody who's in your area that's an experienced cloth nappy user. So they can meet you in the shopping center and in the parking lot or in their house, however comfortable you feel. They can show you, what's out there. In the past, we used to host nappy parties. We haven't done that in a while because of COVID, but that's, we'll probably start doing that again in the next couple of months. That's the opportunity for you to meet other people who are using them, and then to see and to learn and to kind of join in the community. So that's kind of the advice about where to start.
Catherine, can I just ask you, I know prices might vary, but approximately a mid-range good quality, or what are we looking for per nappy or per pack, or how do we go about purchasing something like this?
Okay, so they start at probably around 90 to 100 Rand per nappy. In most cases, you would maybe need to add some kind of absorbency to that. So you could buy, say, your 90 Rand nappy, and you could buy an insert for 30 or 40 Rand, and then that would kind of give you enough absorbency that you don't have leaks. But and then maybe your kind of more expensive ones, and for many people, it's become a bit of a hobby, and there are these absolutely elaborate, exquisite, luxurious nappies which can sell for between 500 and 600 Rand. But for the most part, we normally say that you could start for about 2,500. That would give you enough nappies at a sort of a budget price to get yourself going. And that does sound like a large initial outlay, but as if you kind of was to share that out over maybe the 9 months of being pregnant or the 5 or 6 months that you want to transition, it could end up being 300 rand per month. But then obviously when you're comparing that to the cost of disposable nappies, which I think we've done some estimates that you're spending around 15 to 20,000 per child, and that's if you've got one child, but if you've got 2 children, that becomes 60. If you've that's 20, 40, and third child, that's about 60. So that's sort of 50, 60,000 that you're going to spend on disposables doesn't seem so much when you're spending an initial outlay of maybe 3,500, 4,000 for cloth nappies.
Okay, now let's go to the part where everybody, I think, gets discouraged or dissuaded in terms of cleaning the nappies and how do you wash them and things like that. So just tell us a little bit, maybe from your experience, in terms of what you used to do in terms of collect it and then wash it in the evenings, in the mornings, what to do and how difficult it is. And if it's badly soiled, what do we need to do?
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. That is always the question we get asked. And the question is, what do you do with the poo? Because with disposable nappies, you just wrap it up and you throw it away. But one of, I've got 3 children. And so one of the things that I have discovered is that whether you are using disposable nappies or cloth nappies, you are going to have some contact with this mess, with the soiled nappy. But there are certainly easy ways to deal with it. So one is that some nappies come with liners, or you can buy liners, and the liners can either just be wrapped up and then thrown away, or the liners they come with a particular type of material that when you shake it out into the toilet, it kind of plops off quite easily. Most cloth nappy users use a bidet sprayer, so they'll have a high pressure hose that's attached to the toilet. Gets hung over the toilet, and the high pressure hose puts all the soils into the toilet. So obviously you've got to get rid of them and you've got to flush them down the toilet. But even that you're impacting the environment by human waste is not supposed to go into the landfills. It's supposed to go into the sewage system. So even if you are using disposable nappies from an environmental perspective, you really should be getting that soiled matter into the toilet. And so, once you've got the soiled off using your high pressure hose or using your liner, it can go into the washing machine.
Catherine, I lost you for a bit. Catherine? Okay, go ahead. Yes, I can.
Okay. So I was saying we don't use the steri nappy anymore. We don't soak them. They can go directly into the washing machine. You normally run a fairly long cycle because you do need to get that urine out. And then once it's hung up on the line, the sun actually bleaches out most of the stains. So you don't end up with very bad stains on your cloth nappies. And then, of course, if you don't have access to a washing machine, they can be hand washed. And most people, there are a number of people in our community that are hand washing and are finding that, depending on the type that you use, they can be quite easy to sort of open up because cloth nappies are designed in such a way nowadays that there are extra layers upon layers. And then once they open up, they're a bit easier to wash. And so, as I say, with children, you're going to come across those kind of soiled nappies, and a lot of people find that cloth nappies leak less because they've got elastic around the waist and around the legs. They don't have those kind of explosive messes that you might get with a disposable nappy.
Yes, I had a look at a few products, and I mean it's a far cry from the ones we had with the toweling nappies and the flannel we used to use, and our mums every time having spare nappy pins because somehow those nappy pins used to go missing. And then I remember my mom saying, no, for females, you need to fold the nappy in a certain way. And then for males, they used to say, no, you need to do this. And there was a special art to doing nappies. And I know that was our pride for our moms. Like if you were an excellent nappy folder, and that. But far cry from those is because now they all custom made. They design. They've got Velcro, and it's just as easy putting on a cloth nappy as it is on a disposable nappy.
Yeah, correct. So there are a few different types. Some people do still use that kind of old school flat type thing, which they fold. That's really fantastic if you've got bad weather and things aren't drying very well. They're also the more economical aspect. But yes, there certainly are some fancy ones at the moment which fold and they snap up, and they multi-size, so that we call them one size. So generally they can last from
Oh, we were doing so well, and now we've lost Catherine temporary. Yes, but interesting insight in terms of a cloth nappy. So if you are expecting now, or your parent that's very environmentally conscious and also financially thrifty in terms of this year, you've made it your resolution that you'd like to, start saving and tightening up the purse strings, and this is something that you're looking into. There's a lot of support out there, 19,000 support system odd members that you can connect with. Catherine says there are mentors there that could help you. And yes, maybe nappy parties are, if it's safe to do so, will be then introduced, whereby you have, I don't know what you do in a maybe different ways, or you're going to rate, like how we have this rating system. So probably a rating system of what works best and how it goes. And yes, a cloth nappy critique. I think there's a job for Catherine as well. Catherine, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm back with you. Apologies for that.
Oh, so I said, if you're looking for another side hustle, you could, how you get those restaurant critiques and food critiques, you could be a cloth nappy critique as well. I found your side hustle here as well.
Well, thank you.
So Catherine, as you were saying, I mean, you get different ways, and they custom in, and like you say, you get a one size one. So the nappy grows as your little one grows and becomes a toddler, the nappy will grow with them.
Yes, that's right. So they normally fit from around 3.5 kilograms, and they can fit right up until the child potty trains. The amazing thing with me was I've had 3 of my own children, and many of the nappies that I've used, I used on the first child, and then I used them on the second child, and then I used them on the third child as well. So some of them have, really worked hard in my family, but, from a environmental perspective, sustainability, it's something that's really, I think, contributed a lot to lessening my children's footprints. And I think that one of the things that we say at SACNU is that we're not anti-disposables. We understand that there is a time when you might need to use disposables. We understand that they're convenient, and so we understand that is a place. And if you can use a cloth nappy even for like a few hours in the day, and that's one less disposable nappy that you're putting in, we think that's worthwhile. So there are a number of people in our community who use both. Some people use disposables for nighttime because you don't want to change as much in the nighttime, although there are some fantastic nighttime cloth nappies. But it's about, as parents, we know our children are going to leave a footprint, and it's about us deciding how do we limit that footprint that we set. Because, I think the statistics in South Africa are something like there are 2,000 tons of nappy waste being disposed every single day into landfills in South Africa. So if we can somehow minimize that, if it's even by just, a few cloth nappies every single day, I think we're doing our bit.
Absolutely. And while you're speaking, I'd say, I'm always a middle of the line kind of a person, and I was thinking maybe a blended usage would be the way to go. So, have your disposables there because they're convenient. You need to go out somewhere, emergencies, you need to take this there. Maybe you don't have facilities, or where you're going, they're not facilities where you could, just store your nappies for later washing and things like that. So maybe a blended option, like you've mentioned, you at home, especially a lot of people are working remotely now. They are at home, so they are able to do this. So you at home, maybe during the day, to say from maybe 10 till 4, I'm going to use my cloth nappies, and then I can transition over to my disposables evening and night. And in that way, I mean, you lowering your carbon footprint, your children's carbon footprint, and the impact. And I think in years to come, that will, we definitely see a minimized impact, and it will definitely make a difference. So whoever's out there are able to do this, you're environmentally conscious, maybe start do a blended version. And who knows, you might be like Catherine, that it becomes a way of life, a part of life, and maybe disposables will just be for that emergency. But by far and large, you would be part of the cloth nappy users family and community, and we salute you, because like Catherine, you say it's a responsible, conscientious decision that you're starting your children off and make conscientizing them in terms of their environmental impact and footprint. And for me, you're gifting them something, a legacy that they would carry on in terms of protecting Mother Earth.
Yeah, absolutely. And at this stage, we don't know how long disposable nappies are going to take to break down, because they haven't been around for that long. But there are lots of estimates that are saying 250, maybe 500 years before nappies break down. One of the jokes we often make is that if Shakespeare was alive today, or his nappies, if Shakespeare's mum had used disposable nappies on him, his nappies would probably still be in the land today. So at this stage, we don't know, but it looks like they take at least 400, maybe 500 years to break down.
Yes, and during the conversation, telling, as you said, is human waste, feces, and that should be flushed down and belongs in our sewage system, where then it goes to a treatment plant. It's treated there because they have facilities, mechanisms to break down this, and then in terms of recycling, and send it where it's needed. So uh, especially if you've got older children, and you are using disposable nappies as well, maybe your birthday, if you can throw things before you dispose of the nappy, whatever you can flush down the toilet, please do so. Because I mean, maybe that's your little contribution that you could do. I know with younger kids it's a bit difficult, but with the older ones, you could just then whatever throw down there. So it's been refreshing speaking to you. um, I know people, some of them, when the thought of nappies and things like that before you're a parent, it's just maybe a gross subject to talk about, something that's not palatable to speak about. But once you're a mother, and that you forget everything about that, you have to rush in, change the nappies, do what you want to. A little joke: my son became a dad, and the second day I told him, now you need to change the nappy, and he got everything ready, and he said, I'm coming one moment. And I waited next to the baby, and I seen him come with disposable gloves. And I said, oh my word, that is not sustainable, because every time you change this nappy, you cannot be using a disposable. I said, this is your child. He comes from you. Get in there, remove those gloves, and get on with it. Because I was so surprised, like, he was ready for surgery in changing a nappy. So for me, that was really hilarious. And that's what also for me was got me interested in the cloth nappy, is because I'm in for it as a grandparent for the long haul now. So I'm definitely, along with the parents, going to look into this and checking your website and the community of cloth nappy users. Thanks so much for being here. And please, this is your platform. If there's anything else that comes up, you're welcome to come back on and tell us about new developments as well. And please, if you're thinking of the transition, or even you want to do blended usage, please do visit the South African Cloth Nappy Users Association, their Facebook page, their website. There's a wealth of information there. Thanks so much, Catherine, for your time and joining us here on Salam Media.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely to chat to you.
Take care. We're going to go for a short break, and then when we get back, educational insights.